Well, hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics on Thursday, October 14th. Exciting times continuing on in the silver market where we actually see the price rallying for the second day in a row. No word yet if the CFTC was letting it run for a few days, but nonetheless, we see after an interesting rally where the price got spoofed down first for spiking yesterday, nice consistent follow through, and we'll see what happens and is in hold for Friday, one more trading day of the week. Although plenty of exciting news to get to, which we will cover today. A lot of interesting political and financial developments happening behind the scenes. I'm a little bit of a geek looking on the internet and researching and listening to podcasts on double speed, probably too much of the time. And I realize sometimes that what I think is second nature, a lot of people have not seen. So we will share some of those today. Quick note, thank you to our sponsor, Arcana Silver. Kevin Drover of Arcana Silver, who you've seen on the show several times and has been going into production. And here we see on October 5th, so it's about a week old, but pleased to provide an update on the development progress for their mill, which the mill construction is complete. Final decommissioning of the mill is ongoing. Ore was stockpiled for processing during the commission period, with final commissioning to coincide with the stope ore. So looking forward to having Kevin back on the show soon to discuss that, and will be fun to check in. So thank you, Kevin and Arcana Silver. Not just for me, but for the world that will need that silver, as you are now going into production with not many companies doing that. Actually just placed a call to one of Kevin's guys to see if they will be joining us at Silverfest, which is now coming back to life again. We're going to do what we did online last year, but a little bit amplified. And fortunately, we already know how to do that. Now, I had planned on getting one of those all-inclusive resorts near Puerto Vallarta. It just felt like that wasn't the right play, especially with the current travel conditions. Although I am here in Sayulita, Mexico, which is quite magical. And as we find some people still want to come, even though there's not an official conference resort package, we're going to be planning some fun stuff here as well. I figured I need a nice place with a big pool, some luxurious settings in Sayulita to broadcast from. And fortunately, we have a lot of nice new local silver friends here in the Mexico, which is the silver capital of the world. I might add, the reason I ended up here was at the suggestion of Jorge Ramiro Monroy of Reina Silver, who is partners with the great Dr. Peter McGaw. And you can come see for yourself whether the sand really sparkles silver or not and what that is all about. So Silverfest 2, primarily online. You can join us from anywhere in the world, October 26th to 31st. But also some in-person presence. And if you'd like to find out more about that and what's going on in Sayulita and some of the parties we will be having here, or to get accommodations, you can contact Yara, Y-A-R-R-A, at arcadiaeconomics.com, and she'll be happy to help you with that. And with that said, let's dig back into all of the exciting things happening in the silver market today. I mentioned earlier, silver up quite a bit, nice rally, almost 2% on the day. But the silver stocks in particular, there's the silver index, SIL, up 2.5%. Suma Silver, my man Galen McNamara, who I was hoping to have on the show this week. He's been busy the last day or two and probably enjoying being up 16.5% today. There is Kuya Silver, up 14% today. So big moves. Where's First Majestic, 3%. Pretty much across the board. Silver Elephant up 5.62%. So good news in Silverland. We will see if it continues. Well, I feel pretty confident it's going to continue. Over what time frame, we will see how that goes. But I think it's coming sooner than later, which is what I will explain in the rest of these stories, because here is interesting. This is the net short position for the banks. And you can see this blue line, that's the commercials. So the deeper down they are, the more short they are. Here's the beginning of July, right around Basel III date. And when you look and see how low that is, that might be the most the least the banks have been short since, I'd say we go back to here. So we'll see what that means, but at least according to the data, it looks like they are covering to some degree, and keep an eye on that. Another thing to keep an eye on here, Jamie Dimon is suggesting the supply chain hiccups will soon ease, pointing to the extraordinary consumer demand. I can never tell whether it's consumer demand, inflation, at least listening from these guys, although I have a pretty good idea, but he should never do this, but he'll make a forecast, said the guy leading the global bank. How kind. There's Jamie. This will not be an issue next year at all. This is the worst of it. Hopefully he'll be correct, because if his assessment is anywhere near as accurate as Ben Bernanke saying that subprime was contained, I guess that would be the alternate case. Some experts believe it will continue through 2023, although Dimon has a rosier view. Keep in mind the consumer's buying other stuff. They can't buy cars, they're buying home improvement. They can't travel internationally, they're travel domestically. The spending level is high. Well, as you see from the debt ceiling situation, that's not really a good thing. And then he concludes, or at least the article concludes, with the interesting idea that supply chain disruptions may end up merely elongating the recovery rather than derailing it. Kumbaya to that. Sounds fantastic. Maybe if we had a supply chain disruption every year, the recovery would never end, and that would be a strong economy. Fortunately, Joe Biden, we're going to check in with him before tonight's report is done. Here's another one about Jamie Dimon calling Bitcoin worthless, predicts it will be regulated. What's the need to regulate it if it's worthless? And if it's worthless, why is he selling his customers shit? Our clients are adults. They disagree. That's what makes markets. If they want to access to buy and sell Bitcoins, we give them clean, legitimate, clean as possible access. Well, they must be doing something different than what they're doing in the silver market. But I mean, I guess that's corporate America, and you get what you pay for. I mean, I don't know. I don't help people buy treasuries. So maybe that's just me. Although Dimon predicted the government would step in to regulate cryptocurrency for several reasons, no matter what anyone thinks about it, government's going to regulate it. Well, there's a defeatist attitude. They're going to regulate it for the anti-money laundering purposes. So this way, Jamie Dimon and his government buddies can have a monopoly on money laundering too. And so far, no word from JP Morgan's legal team. I have called, but no answer on that yet. Although hear from an investor that I actually really admire, respect, and trust, Rafi the Wise Farmer. You know, it's Washington is even grumbling about the food supply. Washington has started with the process of sticking its nose into the food supply, not good for Americans who like to eat. The supply chain is essentially in the hands of the private sector. So we need the private sector to step up and help solve those problems. Walmart, geez, is that the main private sector? That's a little disturbing. Here, White House officials have recently warned that Americans could see higher prices and empty shelves this holiday season due to the global supply bottlenecks, which, according to Jamie Dimon, will just elongate the recovery. Interesting economic phenomenon that one is. So now you know. Now, Rafi, who subscribes to an Austrian economic model, which is the opposite of the Keynesian American model, he's saying when you go shopping, buy extra stuff and store it, grow food in your backyards if you can, which would seemingly mean that demand is outstripping supply in these bottleneck conditions. Although you might think that logically, yet we are in the Joe Biden era, which sees great progress in last week's labor report, even though it was a colossal disaster by any standard that I've ever seen. But here's Joe finding the positives. Got to admire him for that. At least if you can find something positive in anyone, which is what I will continue to try to do. Here he said the jobs report reflects great progress in getting the economy back on track, even though it fell well short of the expected number, but they were able to rig the unemployment rate lower somehow, which would defy logic. He dismissed what was for markets arguably the biggest takeaway from the September report, the fact that non-farm payrolls rose by 194%, as opposed to the estimate of 500,000. We've seen the stock market rally when it beats by that much. Here it kept on going up higher because people just assume the Fed will print that either way. But Biden explained that the monthly totals bounce around, and if you just take a look at the trend, watch out, it's going to get a little mathematical here. Solid. Might even be rock solid. I mean, Joe hasn't been taking a lot of questions at the press conferences, so we will see how that goes. But they found some study to find any sense in those numbers that people may or may not believe, but I will leave them aside. Perhaps what it is that they lost the $1 trillion coin in the vending machine, because you know how that kind of thing is possible. It could happen at any point in time. But as the kids would obviously say about a matter like that,
drivers, start your engines. Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon, indeed. Thank you, sir, for that great patriotic call. Hashtag Let's Go, Brandon, the newest move that is sweeping the nation. Here's something a little less fortunate than the Let's Go, Brandon movement. Fuck that, Joe Biden. Southwest Airlines shares tumble after mass flight cancellations. Carrier weighs more cuts. It was interesting. I did catch this story over the weekend. It seemed like this only affected Southwest, which has been a little bit of a different business style than some of the corporates. Now, I don't know if it's issues that I've been hearing about what's side effects from the vaccines for vaccinated pilots, although it could possibly be related to we are not going to fire any employees over this, because the Southwest CEO came out in opposition to the Let's Go Brandon vaccine mandate. So developing story. I'm sure politics could not be involved in such a thing in corporate America, where many corporate employers are threatening people's livelihoods with the threat of a vaccine. Although it turns out the timing of the Southwest CEO's announcement may have had less to do with his conviction against company mandates than the litigation recently filed against the airline in a Dallas court. They asked the court to temporarily block the company from carrying out federally mandated coronavirus vaccinations. So seems like a lot of politics involved in that. And if anyone can solve it, it's Brandon. I wonder if Joe Biden is aware of this bizarre story. Feds deploy non-toxic gas in NYC subways to test biological attack readiness. This kind of reminds me of how NORAD and the second George Bush administration were running simulations on what would happen if a plane flew into a building, even up to the morning of September 11th. And now here we see New York's response plans for a chemical or biological attack will be put to test in the coming weeks as part of a study of the city's subway system. The MTA says the Department of Homeland Security, which was, maybe it was created before that, but gained a lot of power after September 11th. Those fine fellows are going to deploy a non-toxic gas this month at about 120 locations operated in the subway, strap hangers, and anyone in the vicinity of the testing operations buys the gas is non-toxic, poses no risk to public health. Whether this is run by the same officials that were sure and then later got caught lying like Anthony Fauci about how there actually were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, yet they went and committed a genocide there anyway. Whether those same officials were promoted to run this program after, or maybe Anthony Fauci is supervising this, who knows? But I would certainly be careful between October 18th and 29th. The study will track the movement of non-toxic material as it simulates the aerosol release of a biological agent in a densely populated urban environment. Yeah. I hope the New Yorkers are aware of that, because just in case the guys administering this sound like Jerome Powell or Anthony Fauci or George Bush or Dick Cheney or Nancy Pelosi or Gavin Newsom or any of these other people that personally I wouldn't trust. Well, I guess we'll just see how that goes. Last story before we wrap up, since it's connected to the politics, I guess I shouldn't tell people to turn off my own channel, but viewer be warned, this is a little bit graphic, but pause it or turn off if you need to. But I thought it might be interesting to see how some people actually feel about Nancy Pelosi. I'm not asking you to agree or not, but I just think there's a connection between all of these things, and we'll take a quick listen here.
You fucking communists! Get the fuck out of here! Get the fuck out of here! Fuck you and your fucking Democrats! Afuera! Ahí está! Ahí está! Fuck Nancy Pelosi! You guys stop!
And we can pause it there because obviously some coarse language and not the point to bring any more negative energy into anyone's day yet. I think there's a lot of people who are not aware of what's been happening and why a lot of people feel that, I mean, it's not hard to imagine that the American political system has been corrupted, but who people like Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, some of those other names that I mentioned, who they are really serving and whether they may have directly sold out their country for political gain. I did get a new video to watch about Nancy's husband, Paul, who is quite an option trading legend, as I hear. Now, whether, for example, he was using inside political information for personal gain and selling US assets to foreign terrorist groups, I'm still researching, so I'll check back in on that as I know more. But these people seem quite upset. They're not as excited with Nancy Pelosi as they are with rooting Brandon on. So anyway, again, with that said, final reminder, not final, but final for today. Silverfest will still be going on. If you would like information about the details, Yara, Y-A-R-R-A, at arcadiaeconomics.com. She'll help you with that. And Arcana Silver is going to help us with getting the silver out of the ground, which I'm benefiting from. I don't know if you saw this earlier, but the silver jewelry here in Mexico is quite sensational. I got some new things yesterday, some rings and a necklace and this bracelet. And I've been posting pictures, and we're going to start making some of this available to our audience. I don't know much about importing and exporting silver jewelry, but what an exciting time to learn. We are hiring for a whole variety of things because there's so much talent in our audience and so much opportunity when you have a non-political mindset and just really focus on making life great for people. So you can contact Yara about that as well if you are interested. With that said, going to wrap up, but to find out a little bit more about Arcana Silver, here's the last time Kevin was on the show.